This is my Sony A7R V, and on it I have the Tamron 20-40mm f2.8. Now if you think that's quite an odd focal length, you'd be right. So why am I using this lens? And more importantly, why did I buy it? Stay tuned. So the real reason I bought this particular lens is for video. But how does it stand up as a photography lens? Today I'm at the currently being refurbished Tyne Bridge, and I'm going to take a few images to test it out. We're going to try it at 20mm, at 40mm, we're going to try it all the way through the various apertures, and then we're going to take it back and have a look at it in some new editing software. I've been a Lightroom user for years and years, but I've been offered a collaboration on a fairly well-known brand of imaging software, and we're going to take a first look at this image in that software. Stay tuned to the end and I will let you know what that software is, and I'm going to crack on and get these shots done. So at the moment I'm just taking a few long exposure shots. I shall wait till the light's a little bit more up before I actually do the image quality test for this lens. Obviously you don't want to be using slower shutter speeds and the potential of camera shake even though it's on a tripod. So I'm just doing some shots for myself while I wait for the light to come up. So that's the shooting completed. I've shot at 20mm, 28mm and 40mm, and I shot from f2.8 all the way through to f22, which is the minimum aperture of this lens. The reason I bought this lens was not for photography, but actually for video. You see, it's a really light, compact lens. It's an f2.8 and it works so beautifully on a gimbal. But there's the added advantage that the A7R V has a crop mode, and I have that set to this C button here. Now if I press that C button at 40mm, it crops to 60mm, maintaining 4K video, cropped down from 6.2K. So I still have really high quality video, and I have an effective focal length of 20 to 60mm, all at f2.8, all in a very compact lens and a relatively cheap lens as well. So that's why I bought it, and I used it on my London trip, and I was really pleased with how well it balanced. The great thing about it is you can set the gimbal balance for around 28mm at the middle of the range there, and if you've balanced the gimbal well, if you move from 20 to 40, it won't actually go out of balance. So how does it hold up as a photographic lens? For starters, it's a very, very odd focal length, but I will get into that in a moment. Build-wise, it is an all-plastic body, as you might expect at the price of around £600, $600. However, it's a good, solid, sturdy barrel, and the zoom ring and the focus ring are very, very smooth. It's a solidly built lens, and I'm actually really quite pleased with how it is, and yet it still maintains that lightness that you need for the gimbal work. There are some glaring omissions. There's no aperture ring, and there's also no button on the side for you to switch between manual focus and autofocus. Fortunately, I actually have that set to a button on the body of the A7R V, but some people may not and might find it a little bit clunky to switch between manual and autofocus. Actually, the only thing that is on the body of the lens is this little USB-C socket here, and that allows you to update firmware directly from your computer. I've not done that yet. I'm not sure whether the firmware is up to date or not. I will check that when I get home. So why is this an odd lens? Well, that 20 to 40mm sounds quite restricting, and indeed it is. However, when I had my old Fujifilm GFX50 Mark I, I had the 32 to 64mm f4, which is effectively a 25 to 50, so a very, very similar focal length. I shot some great pictures of the Tyne Bridge with that camera. I found that 32mm to be a little bit restricting. With this particular lens, I could get wider, incorporate more of the bridge, and not have to dangle the camera over the railings of the swing bridge over here where I shot from. But there's another reason why this lens is actually clever, and it's actually because it's part of the holy duo. You've probably heard of the holy trinity of lenses. That's the 12-24, the 24-70 and the 70-210, all f2.8 and all weighing an absolute ton. 3 of those in your bag with the camera and perhaps a spare body will really weigh you down. Tamron and a number of other third-party manufacturers have created almost like a Trinity Light, if you like, a duo, and that is to go from 20-40 and also 35-150, all at f2, f2.8, and all for much cheaper than the manufacturer's lenses. The 35-150 for the Sony is a absolutely beautiful lens, but I'm not sure if I would buy it over the existing 24-105. It's a lot heavier, it's a lot bigger, and I just think the 24-105 is a beautiful travel lens. There is obviously some overlap with this lens and the 24-105. However, this is a much more suitable video lens, and as I said, with that little crop mode that takes it out to 60 f2.8, it's absolutely ideal. So that's all the shooting done. Really enjoyed using this lens today. I'm going to take the camera, the lens and myself back to the studio, have a cup of coffee, drop them into my computer, and then we're going to edit them in that new software. So stay tuned and I'll see you in the studio. Welcome back to the studio. I really enjoyed shooting yesterday on the River Tyne. The light was absolutely gorgeous. The Tyne Bridge is under a major refurbishment at the moment, but it still looked absolutely fantastic with the light coming up behind the clouds. As I mentioned, I'm using some new software today, and that software is DxO PhotoLab 9. DxO reached out to me a few weeks ago and asked me if I would like to collaborate looking at their various software products for photographers. I'm always open to using different editing software. I think like many other photographers, I'm a little disgruntled with the way Adobe's going. There's no doubt that their software, Lightroom and Photoshop, is absolutely fantastic. But sometimes you have to think about the long term, and are they going to be around all the time? Are they going to start really price gouging us? So I think it's very, very useful for any photographer to keep their options open. And options there are. There are a number of alternative software companies out there now producing really, really good image editing apps, and DxO is one of them. So I said yes, and I've put all my images into DxO PhotoLab 9. I'm not going to go deep into PhotoLab 9 today. It's going to be an ongoing process. I'm going to be going out and doing my normal videos, but instead of using Adobe to look at the editing, we're going to look at DxO products instead. Today, we're just simply going to look at the images. They will be corrected by DxO's lens correction software, and then we're going to zoom in and just see how sharp those images were at 20 and 40mm from 2.8 through to f22. So I'm going to leap into DxO PhotoLab now, and let's see what we've got. So here we are in DxO PhotoLab. I'm in the photo library module, and you can see all the images down here. The one I have selected is 20mm at f2.8. And what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in to the center here and have a quick look at the sharpness. If I just move this film strip out of the way, we can get a slightly larger looking image. And as you can see in the center at 2.8 at 20mm, it's pretty sharp. If we scroll out to the edges here, all the way here, and there's some definite softening you can see in the railings here. It's not quite as sharp, but that's perfectly acceptable, I think. Don't forget I'm on a tripod, so there shouldn't be any camera shake at play here. Coming over to the other side where we're quite heavily backlit, you can see that there is some chromatic aberration on the tower here. We've got magenta to the left and cyan to the right here, so there's definitely some chromatic aberration. DxO obviously are quite well known for their lens profiles. I'm not sure if their profile is actually correcting the chromatic aberration as yet, so that might be something that I need to look at deeper when I look more in depth at this software. Let's go to 5.6, and as you can see, this is f5.6 at 20mm, and if we again zoom into the center, Again, very, very sharp in the middle, looks really, really good. Lots of detail there. Some nice contrast as well. You can see the sunlight coming under the arches there. If we come out to the extremities here, you can see that's actually quite a bit sharper, particularly on the railings. And if you see these workmen's fences here, you can start to see some detail in those fences there. If we come across to the other side, chromatic aberration is still there, not quite as pronounced, but it's definitely still there. So 5.6 certainly seems to be a relatively sweet spot there. Let's just go to f11 and have a look at that. Again, f11 looks really, really sharp, really, really contrasty, looks good. If we come out to the edges again, I would say possibly not quite as sharp as 5.6. You're just losing the wiring in these fences here, and you can see the chromatic aberration just seems slightly more pronounced on this side. And on the other side again, it also looks slightly more pronounced at f11. So let's go and have a look at the other end of the focal length, and that is at 40mm. And as you can see, this is 40mm at f2.8, and we're going to zoom in around this area here, and you can see at f2.8 it's pretty decently sharp, lots of detail, no obvious chromatic aberration in the middle here. If we come out to the edges, definitely sharper at 2.8 at 40mm than it was at 20mm. Some softening there, no obvious chromatic aberration on this side. If we come across to the other side, we haven't quite got the same sort of backlit conditions because we've zoomed in a little bit, but there's no obvious chromatic aberration in the lens at this focal length. So let's go to 5.6. And again, in the center, it's very, very sharp. You can see all the detail in these wires along the edge of the bridge here. You can see all the rivets underneath. Again, nice contrast with the lighting under the arch there. Coming out to the right, and this is very interesting. It's a lot sharper on the edges at 5.6 40mm. You can see the definition in those wires on the fences there. And again, no obvious chromatic aberration on this side. We scan across to the other side, and again, it looks very, very sharp. No obvious chromatic aberration at this side. I'm just going to show you f22. So this is at f22, and as you can see, it is significantly softer, and that is obviously the effect of diffraction. Now, if you don't know the effects of diffraction, it's well worth knowing about, and of course I have done a video about that. I'll leave the link in the description below. It's really, really worth knowing about. If you're finding your images soft at f16, f22, it's almost certainly diffraction and not anything to do with the lens itself. It's just physics, basically. So I'm quite impressed with the image quality that I'm getting out of this Tamron 20-40mm. At 20mm and at f2.8, there is some definite softness on the edges of the image, and that's kind of to be expected. By the time you get down to 5.6, that starts to disappear. It's still there, but it's less noticeable. And as you stop down further, it does kind of disappear. It's not a major issue. It's a 20mm wide-angled lens, so it's to be expected. At 40mm, it's definitely sharper on the edges than at 20mm. It's still a little bit soft, and on the absolute extremities of the edges, you can still see a little bit of softness. There is also a touch of chromatic aberration around f2.8 through all the focal lengths, but nothing that can't be corrected in software. At f22, you've definitely got the effects of diffraction, which would be expected. So I wouldn't go much above f16 if I was using, for example, as a landscape lens where you were stopping down to get maximum depth of field. At f22, there is definite diffraction. As I said, the build quality for a plastic lens is really, really good. It's very, very sturdy. The lack of an autofocus button for me is not a problem, but it might be for some. There's no optical image stabilization, but obviously the Sony A7R V and all Sonys have in-body image stabilization, so that shouldn't be a major issue, and it is a wide-angled lens anyway. The aforementioned 35-150, I believe, does have optical image stabilization built into it. So what do you think of the Tamron 20-40mm? Are you impressed by it? Are you looking to buy it? Also, what do you think of DxO PhotoLab 9? DxO have given me a 15% discount code for you. So if you'd like to purchase any of their software, you can use the discount code that's in the description below. If you've enjoyed this video, a like would be fantastic, a subscription would be even better, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.